So,
That's a
who-
surprise for him when he shows up or going with a bunch of flat earthers. Probably going to be like, what the fuck?
you're going to be like, interesting. Well, actually, they've already talked to one of the pilots, I almost said pirates. And basically, from what I've gathered, Jaren asked if the Earth was flat, and the pilot said yes. So,
That's what
who, who knows? There might be more flat Earth pilots around there.
Witsit said he might take like this small plane flight when they get to Union Glacier, and they'll take you out over the mountains in that area. And
Yeah,
if I
that would
don't
be
see him
cool.
and somebody else thinks of it, I'm sure he will. That's a chance to talk to a pilot right there. If you're in like a
And
smaller plane,
and like depending how much they cover, because like I don't know, Antarctica might be pretty big. It might take a lot of land, but if they can see that it's like not a like it's its own continent and has not connected to the ice wall, then that will give us like a good definite um model to point at, or like a
yeah, I
more
think
definite.
there's a possibility of seeing phenomenon in the sky that nobody's ever seen before. I mean, there's a good chance it'll be cloudy too, but they do have some equipment. Like, we don't know if anybody ever brought an infrared P900 down there.
I think they did.
No, I'm saying, yeah, we're doing that, but nobody's ever done that before, so far as we know. So there's one thing right there.
Yeah, actually, that was one of the things I was thinking that might have actually attracted McToon and Duffy to this trip, because I was thinking about it and I'm like, I'm like, maybe they realize that there's like a severe lack of, 24-hour sun footage, but not, I mean, people question it, but nobody has done like a solar filter kind of thing. And if you wanted to do something like that and like put it on your channel, I'm sure that would be like pretty big, because it would be like the only video of that. So maybe that's why they did it. They think that they can get some kind of publicity out of it. And like seeing how it relates to flat earth, like they could have been like they might be being a bit of opportunists in this situation, to be like, hey,
Yeah, it's
we went
definitely
together.
possible. A lot of people put Duffy on being like maybe an agent or something like that, and I kind of look at it like, well, he might be more like McToon than we'd care to admit.
There's definitely
You
something
know,
sketchy about both of them, yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're sketchy, but I mean, aren't a lot of Globers that are on that level, I guess, sketchy?
Yeah.
Maybe call them anti-flat earthers. I don't know,
Man,
but
I know we've gone over this 100 times, and I've talked about it multiple times, but it's just like there is plenty of footage of Union Glacier, so it's like if that's all real footage, then they're just going to the same place that those people have gone, and there is a 20. It looks like there is a 24-hour sun there. Now,
Hmm.
whether that's a real sun or a fake sun, then it branches off into those two possibilities. Um, but from the perspective that it's a real sun and there actually is a 24-hour sun, then it is weird that back in like 2014, 15, 16, there were like no footages of the 24-hour sun. And then all of a sudden they kind of just burst on the scene with, and some of those early ones were pretty sketchy in terms of like being fakes basically. And, having several things about them that are inconsistent and problematic. So then it's like, why would they plant fake ones if it is a real effect? Unless it is a bigger, like we've discussed, like a bigger psyop that is like all building up to this moment where they're gonna, where Duffy is in on something where they're gonna take flat earthers and maybe, they're gonna have a real trip, like meaning, Jared and Witsit may still be able to get like their trip, in that sense. But then if they then wanted to try to, now I know they're trying to set themselves up so they're not going to be able to be in a hit piece, but I'm just saying, like, if that was the whole narrative, that they purposely planted fake videos back in the earlier, and then now they're like revealing it with this and then showing, oh, everyone, hey, there is a 24-hour sun, therefore Earth is globe. And then if they were to run some big campaign in the media, flat earthers finally proven wrong, in Antarctica, I mean, that would be like the worst case scenario, I guess. I mean, it's not even really that bad because it would just bring a
Yeah.
bunch of attention to it.
Yeah, I agree, man.
But I'm just saying in general, if they tried to make it seem like it was like a, oh, they, because they've been repeating that narrative. Like flat earthers have been saying, and it's like not really everybody. Some people have said various things, but it's not everyone.
Definitely, it's like one conspiracy theorist over there said once, and they're like, "Oh, all flat earthers think this." And I'm like, "What? How's that? How did it figure out? How did it figure? You know what I mean?"
Yeah, like I definitely remember encountering flat earthers who specifically believed in Antarctic midnight sun. Some people would try to explain it, of course, the same way that they would try to explain star trails in the south with like being a reflection and stuff. And then there were people that did believe in like Antarctica possibly being its own continent. But they kind of got overlooked because there was so many reasons to not trust like any of that narrative, and especially because nobody had really gone down there or had the money to even do that. Like, how are you gonna figure out what's actually going on? And it does seem like there has been like regular people like just going onto the continent, hanging out there the entire time, like in terms of like traveling across it, doing marathons, as Witsit was saying, like when they were there was a bunch of people in their like I think in the hotel, like or in a cafe or something like that, and they were all just going to run a marathon. So like it seems like it's something that people do and like just go and like hang out there like a regular place, like you're going to visit an island kind of thing.
I don't know.
But one thing
Yeah,
I do know
exactly,
about
dude.
it,
That's what I found with all the footage. Yeah, it's a place people go. Yeah, all kinds of different people, hiking, camping, mountain biking, skydiving, parasailing, like or I mean, what is
Penguins?
that? Like wingsuiting? I don't know, whatever else
But
they're
don't you
doing
think
out there.
yeah, they probably got some penguins.
the marathon seems fake? 100%. There's
No,
no way.
there's not penguins at Union Glacier.
There's no
Oh,
way the guy
that's
done the
sad.
marathon in 3 hours.
Yeah, no, there's people going there to run a marathon, and they said they like jump out of the like, so they go up there with a bunch of people. Two guys jump out of the plane, and they have to land, and then they have to direct the plane to land, and then these guys get out and they go and run a marathon.
That was at the North Pole, not down in Antarctica.
No, he was saying that didn't he say that
He
was down
said
in
he said
Antarctica?
about a different one that was at the North Pole that he told that story.
Oh, because he was saying they were like,
No, there is
oh,
a
I don't know, maybe I
marathon
misheard
at
that story.
Antarctica as well. But it looks a bit fake.
Because it kind of sounded like he was saying that he had just spoken to those people in a cafe, and or that they were all sitting like in the hotel lobby or like in a cafe lobby in the hotel or something like that, and he had just talked to them before he went live like earlier in the day, and he was telling us about it. So that was the context that I heard it. But yeah, one thing that I have heard about Antarctica though is that there may be distortion. Like they might not be giving us the actual size of the continent. So it is still like a bit of a big continent, and they may have actually hid some of the size. And the only way I could really rationalize why they would do that is because if you were making a globe model and you wanted to like kind of pinch everything down in the south, then it would make sense to like distort some of the features there, and maybe there's a bunch of water that's cut out or changed or altered just so that they can get everything to kind of fit into a globe like projection. Because yeah, people have been looking at it, and there's apparently over the past like few years they've added like 500 miles onto Antarctica from like doing like surveying an expedition, and there's like a lot of things that don't match up with the distances that people have traveled, and places they've ended up and like stuff like that.
The marathon's
Well,
in March
I
in
was going to say
Antarctica.
that anomaly there where their compass is supposed to read completely, like perfectly backwards, 180 degrees at Union Glacier. And it's like, man, is it possible that there's actually another North Pole that's farther away? They're in the field. I don't know.
Why was the compass not doing that?
Well, no, that's what it says that their magnetic declination is at Union Glacier is 180 degrees.
Oh,
So north is south. It's just completely backwards.
yeah.
But then they call it an anomaly. I'm just, you know,
Hmm.
throwing it out there. I guess that they're, anomaly. Okay, sure. Or it's another North Pole. I have no idea how that would work with the toroidal geometry and multiple toroids or anything like that. But
I mean, I guess given that they do call them like a North Pole, a magnetic pole, maybe the pole that they're referring to is some kind of magnetic field pole. And that's why they've gotten those names. And maybe it has something to do with, the way the way the dome or like the overhead, like sun and moon kind of move around. And maybe, yeah, who knows, there could be some kind of phenomena related to that.
By the way, what you said before about like this is a place that just people seem to go, all of that and all the videos we've looked at, but that's kind of, I was going to say that before when you said that, but that's the thing about it. Like that site seems to have a 24-hour sun.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, Geo. You said you saw the sun in every position on videos from Union Glacier.
yeah. Yep. Yeah, at this
Okay,
point.
cool. Yeah. Hmm.
And a woman, one of the recent ones I found where she's standing outside, the sun is starting to transition, going from right to left, is starting to transition into the southern sky. And she says something like, well, this is the lowest the sun is gonna get. She's like, never gets any lower than this because the sun is always up here in Antarctica. Something like that. So she's just saying that's like the low, it's the lowest it gets, which is not even setting. So that was a recent one I found as well. There's other ones
Right.
too, though. So I mean, yeah, those would have to either all be actors or all fake, or those are just real people saying that, and so
Did you see any unbroken 24-hour cuts?
yeah, there's one 24-hour footage. There's actually two kind of cuts from it, but yeah, there's only one video I found that actually has the full 24-hour. But there's like 7 or 8 other videos I found that have like the sun in the south or moving in the south or just positioned. I think I've got actually like about 15 now that show the sun. Maybe there's like okay, there's two that are actually 24-hour, even though they're kind of the same. They're like two cuts from it's like a 360 cam. That's the only one that's 24 hours at Union Glacier that I found. And then other than that, there's about 6 of them that show the movement of the sun in the south. Then there's about another like 8 or 9 of them that just show the sun in the south. Like the one is the solar eclipse. Well, there's 2 that are solar eclipse. And then there's several others that are just have the sun like in the southerly position, somewhere like behind that mountain, which is called Mount Rossman in the back south there. So in total, probably at least like about 15 total, with the one main one that's the 24-hour, and then kind of that type kind of breakdown, and then like a handful of other videos of people talking about the sun's always up, and yeah, all of that, and then other when they go up to Mount Vincent as well. I've seen the mountain in all positions, or the sun in multiple positions up there as well. When they go up to it's like the highest peak in Antarctica, and there's like another camp up there. So yeah, there's the sun in multiple positions up there too.
It just kind of occurred to me that like maybe there is a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, but sometimes it's anomalous because of things like the coffee cup caustic. And so it's always daylight and it's cloudy a lot of the time, so you couldn't tell, but maybe when it's really clear and the sun's in a certain position, you'll get some type of anomalous phenomenon. Again, I don't know what that would look like, but that's just in my mind. But I mean, if you got a 24-hour sun in the sky, just like the North, well, that's pretty definitive, I guess.
Yeah, like one of the arguments that I guess somebody did make, which I guess you could say is a good argument in defense of it, would be the fact that it is so cloudy that they had to make cuts. And so they weren't like intentionally trying to put out the idea of like covering up the Antarctic. However, obviously only like rich or probably important people would have really access to Antarctic, so it's easy to look like someone intentionally went out of their way to kind of cover it up. And especially when that stuff started popping up around flat Earth. right? It's like, because it's kind of like there was no videos before, and then maybe one person saw them and found the idea, well, hey, I'm just going to go to Antarctica. And maybe they tried to make like a 24-hour sun, but little did they know is that, not being able to do it and having to like do cuts and edits to get like a proper thing just looks entirely deceptive, and it doesn't end up looking like, you're disproving the conspiracy. So like, yeah, that is something.
No, I see what you're saying. Yeah, for sure. Because it is really cloudy down there, and it would probably hard at any point in time to get 24 hours. You just got to get lucky with the weather.
Yeah, so they could have just like, chosen different days to make up for the footage that they didn't get, and then like just kind of cut it and thought, hey, that will be good enough. I think it might have
Yeah, I
been
mean, why some
eggshells.
of the why it was there was that like rollout like that, and some of the ones that do seem fake, like that is strange. Why they would even do that, but
And the 10-year time scale on that level is not really that long at all. You know,
Yeah.
like flat Earth blows up around 2014, 20 into 2015, and we're 10 years later right now.
wait, you mean if they're doing like a long game kind of thing? You mean?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not saying that's for sure what's going on. I don't know. I just, you know.
Yeah, well, it is kind of huh. 'Cause it's not like it was just like one person that said that, you know? It was a thing with like the AE map, and then yeah, it was a thing that was said by several people. I'd have to think kind of who all said it, because I never really attached to the idea. I mean, I did think the evidence has been very weak. Like people were saying earlier, we're talking about all this, but it's like it's actually very logical and grounded to be skeptical of it because of how weak the footage is. Like there's such bad, like just the evidence for it is so like unsubstantiated in a lot of ways. I mean, I know everyone's going to have their opinion on that, or like what is substantiated to them maybe, but I'm just saying like it's actually like very logical to just put that in the question mark category if there hasn't been really solid evidence. Whereas the one in the north is not even contested at all. I mean, that one's just obvious. So like nobody even denies that one in a way or even questions it. But yeah, I mean the footage of the one in the south, like why haven't we just had as equal of footage as the one in the north? You know, it should just be solid. You know, ever since the 80s, we should at least, if not earlier, we should have had just tons of 24-hour footage of the sun there. It should be something you just go online and find a bunch of them, but it's not the case. So yeah, why has that rolled out like that? And then, I mean, could they really be planning something for this trip that there's really a nefarious thing with the documentary or the movie stuff they're going to do, and they are going to try to. I guess we'll see like how it rolls out. Like I mean, what's it seems that like, and Jaron are saying that the filmmaker guys like he's saying he thinks he's a real flat earther kind of thing. So I guess like we'll just see. Yeah, if it ends up like being something that's like a positive informational representation of all of this, or whether it's some kind of something else. But because if it is, you would think that if it was like a 10-year psyop or whatever to like have this whole 24-hour something, and then if you would think if that was the case, they would have a big plan to like hit something with it, you know, some kind of from here forward. I'm saying, you know, whereas if they just go and they film it, whatever, and then they're on documentary and it's all really positive, it's like, well, wait, what kind of psyop was that? You know, it just built up to this point that they just had this kumbaya moment in Antarctica, and it's this awesome thing, you know. But then the possibilities of it going the other way, going south, as it were, no pun intended. But yeah, I mean, of something else happening, I guess would be higher. I would think if it was some longer psyop that's been planned.
It was pretty good. That
Yeah.
about that heated exchange they had about the contracts. That puts that into perspective. What you just said, Gio. About how they wanted to make this documentary a certain way, because I think Witsit, he might have said, he put it this way, at least it's how I took it, was that they didn't go there to film the sky, they went there to film the flat earthers, and that's why it was such a big deal for them not to be able to do that.
A bit
Yeah,
of both.
Because I thought that was interesting. I was like, yeah, why the hell would they even give that much of a rip about whether or not Witsit can film, or McToon can film Witsit, or any of the other flat, like, you guys are there to film the 24-hour sun, I thought.
Right, and it does seem like Witsit's done. Witsit and Jaren have done from what they're saying, everything that seems like they can to. From what I can tell, I don't know the details of the contracts and all that, but I mean, it looks like they're trying to have themselves covered. The challenge with that stuff is that if something happens, you basically have to go to court, which means you have to pay a lot of money for lawyer costs and time, and Duffy seems to be uh, claim that he has a fair amount of wealth, so anything that went to court, sort of like
Well,
unfortunately,
Witsit's
money
lawyer.
makes a difference when you are in those things in a lot of cases.
Well,
Yeah.
Witsit's lawyer is really cool. He actually has a good relationship with him, and if you've got a contract like that, and he already has a relationship with a lawyer, well, taking that case pro bono if he knows it's a win is easy. So I think he's covered on that front. But I just
Yeah,
thought it
that's
was
possible
Right.
too.
interesting.
Yeah,
But because I think the way that he described it or whatever, they thought they were going to get away. Like Duffy signed the contract, right? So Duffy can't make a documentary about the flat earthers, but McToon could. But in the ALE contract that everybody has to sign, everybody's identity is protected in that contract. So he thought that they didn't see that coming or they overlooked it. Like, oh, Duffy's signing this one contract, but McToon can just do everything we're gonna have Duffy do. Do you see what I'm saying? You heard that, didn't you, Gio?
yeah, yeah. Well, it seems like they were trying to protect themselves from just having MC2 and just have cameras up in his face the whole time, and doing some kind of what do they call that? Like rush journalism or something? What is the name of that? Is that even a thing? It's like a journalist that's just like rushing up on you and being all up in your face and kind of trying to catch your every move, which some people might be into, but I don't really think. I mean, they're kind of going to have the experience. They're not really going to be on MC. I don't think Witsit's going just to be the star of MC Toon's YouTube channel, even though MC Toon will make him the star of his channel anyways. But he's just trying to not have, yeah, like he was saying, have that kind of.
It'd be like undercover journalism almost, but like
Yeah, like
not.
forced journalism when they're just there to try to check out the place.
Yeah, forced
Yeah.
journalism.
Well, it'd be journalism versus Jarenism.
Here's the flat earther in its natural habitat.
I've been spotted.
Oh man, that's funny.
Yeah, what were his intentions? If he was going to film him, like I'm trying to picture him, so he's filming Witsit while Witsit's filming the sky. Like, I already thought it was awesome that Witsit's doing observations and he's up on like no sleep after all that traveling, and he's outside looking at the sky and trying to think about stuff, and the Globers are all asleep. It's like that just shows you right there who's dedicated to it and who ain't.
And they call it ambush.
I don't know though. I mean, the thing is,
Right.
like the whole 24-hour sun down there has been a whole point of contention, though. I mean, not everybody has claimed it or whatever, but some have, and it has been a thing. I mean, or at least like at the very least, a lot have claimed that like they don't have a good enough evidence for it, just alone, and it has been kind of elusive. So it is strange to think like whether it's a purposeful thing to be this way or whether there really is just this bad of documentation of Antarctica. Like it's just this kind of weekly overall, like because it just seems like if they just go and just film it and it's legit and it's just this blatant obvious, it's just like really why did it take 10 years to get that? 10 years to get it took until 2024 for humanity to have some decent footage of what the sun does down there or out there.
I hear you, man. I agree. We can do all this other stuff, but we can't do that. Like, yeah, I don't know. I've made the same argument. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like how long has it even been publicly available for like touring or even like getting a plane there?
I don't know. The earliest, I think maybe, I don't know when the Union Glacier camp started. I want to almost say I heard something about like maybe a year 2006, but I don't know if I'm not sure on that. But the earliest video I have is 2012 at Union Glacier. But that's when it says it was posted to YouTube, so assuming that's true. But I have read some
Hmm.
other things that they've been doing trip. Like I guess that's what we could look up. Like when was Union Glacier first? Here, I'll look that up real quick. See if they. I'm just curious, like if they claim when the camp was first started, or started being taking people there. Yeah, it says Union Glacier was established as a base camp in 2006 by ALE. Yeah, I was. That is the correct. That's what I had heard. Yeah, 2006. So that's when they claim they started.
18 years.
Now, in the early years, it might have been really basic, though. They might have like not really even taken other people. It might have been more like private explorers or whatever, or private kind
Oh,
of
I'm
people that
sure it
wanted to
was.
take a trip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe over the years they got it more to where it's more of a kind of commercial thing.
Yeah, back then it was probably more expensive and less luxurious. Not
Right.
that it's luxurious now.
I've been looking up their runners for the marathons, and there's a guy called Michael Hewitt. He's a renowned ultra distant marathon runner. And on his profile of marathon results, he's meant to have won or done one in 2011, and there is nothing on his record to say that he's run any marathon, which is kind of strange.
Schlitzy, your mic is real low.
Oh, is it?
But yeah, but while you fix it real quick, I just found this on ALE's website. It says first direct flights from Chile to Patriot Hills, 1987. I don't know where Patriot Hills is, but it shows a plane on the ice, and that's in 87. So when you're telling me they've been going to Antarctica, or this one's 1987, and then also 2006 in Union Glacier, and there's just like such little footage of the sun there. Like you would think it would be like a marketing, even a thing for ALE, like it was the cover of their website. Like, look at this video of the sun. Like, come see this. It's so weird. So it's still
Yeah, like
strange.
get this off your bucket list kind of thing.
Yeah, dude, they would have
I
like
just
24-hour sun. Yeah, it seems like it's so. I mean yeah, dude, it's still weird. There's still weird
what
things about it
about
all.
what about the 24-hour moon too? Wouldn't that also be possible?
Yep. Yeah, there's
I
some
think.
footage of it.
I
By the way,
think the
Patriot
marathon.
Hills, that thing that said 1987, Patriot Hills is also at 80 degrees south. So at least claim to be.
Do you know what it is? It's a. I think it's a base or something. A support base, or it could even be. Let me see.
Which one? Patriot Hills?
Yeah, it's because like when it says about the contestants who do the marathon, they're all from like army who have been posted there. They're like Air Force, and they're the workers. But if they've only got 10 workers, how are they going to have? And they reckon they've got a marathon of 160 people. So I've checked a couple out. There's two of them they ain't even got it on there. Like that. I've got marathons, and when you put in my name, like you can find how many marathons I've done. You can't find no proof of any marathons they've done. There's only one, an Irish geezer, and that's a recent one. And he's the one who's meant to done it the fastest. Impossible. Because if you see how they run when they're doing these marathons, and he's done a marathon, I don't believe it for one bit.
All right. Yeah, yeah.
I've done them for
Well,
over like 12 years, so I knew it was. As soon as I started reading it, I was thinking, this is just made up. It's just nonsense. They've most probably said like, look, I don't know, they've done something, and the guys went, yeah, put me down. No drama. That's what it seems like.
So, Gio, do you think that after all this time that they're they're going to be able to make it look like, you know, because I think it's because of the enclosure, the crystalline enclosure. I think it can cause anomalies, and you could see the sun going one direction, and all of a sudden you're going to have a reflection of it clear across, going the opposite direction. It's like you could have it going one way, and then the reflection going the other way because they're moving away from each other. Does it make any sense to you at all?
Yeah,
You mean like mirroring?
internal reflection of some
Yeah,
sort.
yeah.
It's definitely possible. Yeah, I mean, dude, I was thinking, have you ever been in like a room where there's like a disco ball and the disco ball is spinning and you get all the lights? And sometimes like depending on like if you get the right kind of refraction, the right angle, like you can get like let's say the disco ball is going clockwise, and
Yeah,
it's going in circles and you got all the lights going out, the crepuscular rays basically, the divergent rays as it were kind of from the disco ball all going out. But sometimes when it's spinning, like let's say it's going clockwise, sometimes you'll get like counterclockwise rotations, like in the corners or like in a window. Have you ever seen like in a window where it'll be going the other way? So even though the disco ball is going clockwise, you'll see them going counterclockwise. So yeah, it reminds me, of what you're saying, like the potential. So yeah, I mean, dude, that could be possible. Also, like in the Bible, it talks about like the four corners of the earth. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that there's multiple suns, but I'm just saying that like the idea that, that there could be something about sort of the corners or the outer rim, that has an effect like that. But I mean, it is weird though that if it is an effect, why wouldn't we just have tons of footage of it? So even that is odd. But yeah, I think with like a crystalline type of structure, you could have the polarization process, and yeah, there's a lot of ways that you could have the various effects of the sun, and it follows the celestial sphere as you go north to south, and it follows the same pattern the stars do. So
I was kind of wondering. I don't want to interrupt your convo, but I want to hear your thoughts, Gio, about I'm kind of interested in that whole idea with the sun being four different suns or some other alternative for as an explanation for what's going on there. I was just thinking like, what do you think would be a general like a good way to look into that? Because I was thinking of looking at going more into that myself. Do you have any like good idea to like where I should like start? Because there's so many aspects into that I don't really know where to begin. You know what I mean? Looking into like the four corners of the earth and the sun's way of it being it's apparent, has a apparent position. Know what I mean?
yeah, well, yeah, I mean that's been like just kind of we've talked about different ideas like that, different kind of possibilities or ideas. Um,
I was just
yeah,
thinking
like
like maybe there's like a certain like certain uh yeah, I don't know, like what do you call it, like a certain like field to study there. Is it like the just how light operates, I guess, or maybe through the dome potentially dome like structure? Is that a good way to start, I guess? Like pre 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 assuming that we have a dome and just going from there, I guess, or something like that. Yeah, I guess you have to just take it apart one thing at a time, right? Because there's so many aspects.
yeah, I mean, I guess for that, like I've always said that there would have to be a transition zone between them if there was any type of multiple thing like that, or if there's like quadrants, like a quadrupole magnetic field. And it is just like there's a lot of ways that uh, plays in terms of like the idea of like the continents coming out from the center. Like the ancient maps have like the four islands and four rivers, at the center. So that already has kind of a quadrupole, four corners thing, because you have like 4 islands and 4 rivers at the north. So then if you have that at the North Pole, which is a lot what some of the ancient maps show, but it's not validated. I'm not saying that's like been for sure that that's what's there, but that is kind of that idea. And some of like the Mercator maps and stuff that, and other maps that show that, like the Urbano Monte map as well from the 1500s. But and then you have like the 4 continents coming out. You have like North America, South America. You have like Europe and Africa. Then you have sort of Asia and Australia. And then the fourth one looks kind of empty, which is kind of strange. Like, is there actually something there that they're hiding, more land or something? Because the fourth one is kind of like where Hawaii is, and where they say like Lemuria used to be, like like Mu, the motherland, Lemuria, is claimed to be potentially in that kind of fourth spot, like as it were, if you have the continents all coming out kind of in a planar fashion from the center. So that does kind of create like the 4 islands and 4 rivers in the center at the North Pole potentially. The continents all coming out in kind of 4 stretches, like North America, South America, etc. Like when you have all those 4 in that way, and then the star rotation, and then the whole sun situation with the celestial sphere. But if there was actually like 4 different rotations, which I mean we've talked about different ideas and stuff, but if there was actually like there could still be 4 corners like in a magnetic field, and in a way that there's like quadrants in the Earth, but whether the actual stars and or the sun are actually doing that, I mean that like different ideas have been talked about, but that the thing with that is that if there was actually 4 rotations, like you'd be able to go to like the Tropic of Cancer, the Tropic of Capricorn, or the equator, and you would be able to travel along that going east or west. And because you could already see the southern rotation of stars from that point, you would see them transition, like even pretty dramatically. It would go from like you'd be in like Ecuador flying on the equator, and by the time you got over to Hawaii or over to Australia, you would have seen an entire transition from one of those poles to the other. So that's one of the reasons that I've never claimed this as being the case, because like I've always said, like it is an interesting idea. That's why we've talked about it in different ways. But the thing is that you'd have to actually verify, that there is actually a transition between them, and that would have to be more further
It's
verified.
such a long path to like see it all like happen in that way. You'll have to like travel such a long distance. You know what I mean, to see that dramatic change. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, nobody's ever witnessed that though. Like flying like west on the Tropic of Capricorn, let's say, and then where like the whole star rotation like blends and changes, to another one. Like you transition from one to another. So that's why like that doesn't really seem like I've never seen that substantiated. That's why I would never claim that as being like until that was substantiated, and that's why I also think it's like unlikely to be the case that it actually transitions like that. But it's still, I mean, who knows though? It'd still be cool to be, because that's what we'd want to see, and that's kind of like the whole question of the southern oceans, the question of like the southern Pacific and southern Atlantic, because that's if anything like that was going on there, or if there was some kind of a separation or anything like that, it would be revealed in that way. But it seems like it follows you. Seems like it follows you as you go south. Around.
That's why I kind of like feel like it will be perhaps potentially easier to see that like how those things fold out by going like closer to the potential center, because it will kind of like, if you think of like Polaris, what I've seen, I haven't seen the footage, like any footage of like Polaris being the actual center, because I don't know, some people say like as we see the footage of like how the stars spin in a circle above us, that the Polaris is kind of not in the center. It's like it's going around the center in our perspective of like the footage. You know what I mean? Like it's going in its own little loop because we haven't like, I guess, reached the center. You know what I mean?
It makes a little loop. Yeah.
Yeah. So that just makes me think, like, get stuck on this idea that the centers, I guess, like just like the 4 corners of the Earth idea, but like the center is not the center that we've been told, perhaps. That it's like somewhere, further out. Doesn't that like suggest that idea? What do you think?
I'm not quite sure what you mean.
Like, if Polaris is the center, and if we see it going in a loop, I guess that means that we haven't just reached the center. Because if we were at the center, we would see it just stay stationary straight up above us in that sense. But the footage kind of shows that the ones taking the footage are not enough close to the center for it being, to appear stationary. In a sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think it ever would stay exactly stationary. I don't really think that's a factor of getting under it. I think it always just makes that little loop. Even if you were directly under it, it would still do it.
Interesting.
Which means the sky doesn't really actually focal point spin on Polaris. It kind of is right next to it. The center is like just off of it, off of actual Polaris. Looks just a little bit.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to study the torus field a little bit more, and to see I guess the 4 sun idea that you mentioned, like how that would work. Sure.
Well, I don't think it would be multiple suns, but I don't think there's any actually multiple actual suns. But
Oh, I get you. It's just the way we could perceive it, perhaps.
Well, we could all have our own sun in a way.
You've
Right.
seen Crow 777's videos of the second sun, haven't you?
Isn't that similar to the thing that David Wise kind of brought up, how you could see a thing similar to a sunflare, but it's not a sunflare. It's potentially the actual sun or the source of it.
Correct. Yeah, the one that Dave Weiss shows. I'm pretty sure that is Crow's footage.
Interesting.
And other people have caught it too. It's not just Crow.
Oh yeah. I think I've seen it myself at some point.
That's like another sun kind of right next to the main one, basically.
Yeah. I'm not saying it was like a second one adjacent in Antarctica, like 2 of them like that. And I was just bringing up the fact that, we don't really quite know everything. So I guess there was some dude on one of the actual astronomy channels on YouTube, and you can still go find the video. I haven't gone and found it, but maybe one of you guys could. But it was at the SLU Observatory, and they were teaching a kindergarten class or something, and they were looking at the sun through their observatory telescope, and the second sun was so close to the other one and so obvious that they couldn't get it out of frame. And the guy says in the video, "I'm sure you're wondering what that is. It's the second sun. NASA doesn't want you to know about it." That's what Crow said, the video said, and I trust him 100% on that. So the SLU Observatory admitted that they know it's there.
Well, one thing that has been said that can be observed is the lunar nodes like Rahu and Ketu, and there's certain claims that sometimes when Rahu and Ketu are close to the sun, you can actually see them. You can see Rahu or Ketu in certain conditions. So normally you can't see them at all. They have perhaps they polarize light, or that's one idea. But usually you can't see those lunar nodes at all. But when eclipses happen, when they line up, the lunar nodes line up with a full moon or a new moon, then perhaps we get the effect of what eclipses are, if polarization has to do with that. But either way, then they become sort of visible. When the black circle of the lunar node, intersects with the sun, we get the solar eclipse. I know that there's some that claim that's the moon, but the thing is, there's 4 things that are lining up during an eclipse: the sun, the moon, and then the north node and the south node, which they called Rahu and Ketu in the Vedic. But there's certain claims that if Rahu or Ketu are like the north or the south lunar node are close enough to the sun, even when it's like sunny out, that you could actually see one of the lunar nodes. And it doesn't really look like a second sun though. So yeah, what you're referring to, we'd have to look at the footage again and kind of compare. But what I'm referring to doesn't necessarily always look like a second sun, but it looks like if it's close enough to the sun, like the lunar nodes, you can see like another circle that's like the same size as the sun, but it's just kind of there. Sometimes like reflect, it has kind of a sometimes like a semi-translucent or semi-transparent look to it, but people can see it. So I don't know if that's like overlaps with what you're referring to, or whether some of the ones you're referring to
Exactly
could
what
be
I'm
that.
talking about. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
exactly what I'm talking about. Same thing. Yep, I agree with your assessment. Doesn't really look like a second sun. Crow just calls it the second sun, and that's what a lot of people know it as. So,
Yeah. Because dude, I've seen that myself. But you have to get like the right angle though. It doesn't happen all the time. It's kind of like a shooting star when you see it. It's like, whoa. It's like you're kind of getting a little glimpse.
yeah, you just got to get kind of lucky in the sky too. Do you mean seeing it yourself, like you yourself, or the videos, or what?
No, I'm saying I've seen like like a second circular celestial body like right next to the sun. And that was at a time when the lunar nodes were right there. It wasn't like a full eclipse, but they were aligned. Because the one time I saw it, I saw it directly, and then I went and I double checked the exact position of the lunar nodes, and it was exactly like a little bit to the west of the sun, which is where I saw it.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Was it like at dawn or dusk?
It was at like sort of between like noon and evening, like in the like yeah, maybe like a 4 o'clock kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, Crow just says it's typically seen near dawn or dusk when the sun is lower in the sky in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that fits. That's cool that you saw that, man. Wow.
Yeah, it kind of looked like yeah. I mean, they call them shadow bodies, which is pretty interesting. Like, that's one of the phrases because it's kind of interesting to think of what a shadow even is, or what would like a shadow body be, like a celestial object. But yeah, it looked kind of not really translucent, but it had kind of a glow to it that didn't seem like it was the same like emitting the light of the sun. It seemed like it was kind of more like either reflecting or sort of somehow manifest like or charged maybe because of being close to the sun. But yeah, it's interesting when you're saying at dusk or dawn because yeah, like at high noon, I agree it would be much more likely to not be visible just because the sun's so bright and sky is like so active blue at that time. Whereas when it's starting to set, the blueness is dimming a little bit and you get some like different like opportunities to view.
They said a whole bunch of people seen it during the Canadian fires too. All the smoke from the fires and the angle of the sun on one particular day. A whole bunch of people were able to see it. So I thought that was cool too.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm pretty sure
That's
they did
interesting.
do an observation one time where they used Cami Nodell's polarized filters, and they were able to block the second sun, but not the real sun. And I guess the idea is that you can only block an actual physical object with a polarized filter.
Well, that's even an idea we were talking about earlier, as just another kind of possible thing with the whole sun situation. But you know how like you can put a polarized filter, like if there's a rainbow, you can pull out a polarized filter and look through the filter and the rainbow will disappear. Even though everything else will, like if there's trees or the blue sky, everything else stays the same, but just the rainbow disappears because the polarized
Okay, yeah.
filters, yeah, like it just takes out that spectrum. This is just kind of another just general speculation, but what if like the way the sun moves in different regions, like in different ethereal regions or just in terms of the ether, electromagnetic fields, sort of the idea of like a dome within a dome, but if there's like different regions that kind of have like a field to them. And this is just like speculation, or it's just kind of an idea, but let's just say in theory, if you had like a sun that was circuiting in one region or one area, if you then traveled or transitioned out of that, could there be a polarization of like the way that the crystalline structure works or the way that the actual environment works to where like the sun that you were viewing becomes polarized and invisible, and then like it's not really another sun, but it's like another manifestation of the sun. It's not really a second sun, perhaps. It's just like a polarized, refractive view of it. And with that polarization effect, just like with the rainbow, it can disappear, or just like what you were saying with Cami Nodell, what she was able to do. I know it sounds kind of wild, but it's like one sun's path could be kind of like replaced by another. So yeah, it is kind of a leap to think that would actually happen. But just in terms of like modeling or ideas, like a polarization effect that you would have like different regions that have kind of different manifestations of the sun depending on your region and the polarization of the kind of the filter of what the sun is in, or the medium that it's moving in as you move across different places on the earth.
You make a really great point. I've sat there and meditated on this, like what is the sun? And I actually, on my own, came up and I was like, what if the sun's not rotating? It's actually just the firmament, and it's a rotating lens. And then PhD physicist Robert Bennett came in and gave his Alpha Hildegard model, and he said unequivocally that he believes that the firmament is a rotating lens. And I was like, dude, that's insane that I came up to the same conclusion that he did. And he's a physicist, and I'm just the stoner that meditates.
Nice, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, man. I mean, it's moving up there. Something's moving. The stars, the whole thing, like swirling. Yeah, dude, that's so exciting to think about. It's so much more like invigorating, just on so many levels than the heliocentric model. Just these balls out there. I know they try to make like that's supposed to be wondrous, but to me, like yeah, crystalline celestial sky that is like a sky clock, and could have superfluid and all of these factors that are going on in terms of how it manifests to us. And it's like such a thing of beauty, and then it's like a sky, like the sky clock, just like the perfection of it. Like it's like exquisite design.
Yeah, it's a clock that doubles as a navigation device. Kind of crazy to think about. There's like no end, seems like, to the mystery of it. And what you said about wonder, yeah, I like that too. A sense of wonder is what the world really needs. And you were talking about the Rahu and Ketu and their interference kind of with the sun. And I kind of think of it as like like a destructive interference, where like the frequency is coming in, and then when the frequencies cross, that they cancel each other out, kind of. It's just kind of how I think of it right now. I don't know if any of that's true, but I always think it's interesting. Eric Dollard says, for all he knows, it's a energy transformer from a different dimension.
Yeah, man, I think about the sun like that. Yeah, that like from whatever's beyond this realm is so immense that like the sun is like an opening to what that could even be. Yeah, like a focal point, or like a transmuter, or like a transistor. There's so many different ideas. Yeah, like a flux capacitor, flux capacitor. Dude, I'm looking at, but no, yeah, it's like it could be like like energy conversion, or like a focal point as well. But I mean, to even
Is it
like
like kind
manifest,
of
to even manifest this realm and keep it going, the consciousness required would be so immense that yeah, it seems like the sun would be, because it's such a potent energy source. It's like the idea that that's like an opening, or like a focal point in the kind of heavens that is like channeling that, like just that life force that's coming through into this realm to like power the whole place, pretty much.
Yeah, I think of them as living philosophical principles. Like we always try to put this mechanical, scientific it's a ball of burning gas in the sky, and that's why we can really never put our finger on it, is because these things are like metaphysical in nature. Like their very existence is tied to a metaphysical idea, if that makes any sense.
Makes me think of celestial alchemy, that the celestial bodies are alchemical
Yeah,
frequencies, cymatic
yeah.
alchemical frequencies.
Bingo, yeah, that's great. I think of alchemy as the all-encompassing discipline because, like, scripture and prayer and science and philosophy and anything you can think of is all incorporated in alchemy. And I always think of God as being universal. You know, it would make sense that God is universal. You can do, you know, there's no one text that's just His word and His word alone. You find pieces in all of them.
You just real quick, I just was looking at this. This is from ALE's website. It's like a bunch of pictures of history. Not trying to totally shift back to this, but
That's all good.
I was just saying, like, I was just looking at this and like they got the first ski expedition, 1989. Bunch of stuff from 88, 90, 93. Um, this Patriot Hills camp, which is apparently also at 80 South, but it's like a different location. But that was a site. This is 1987, the base of Patriot Hills. Um, they're surveying, and this one, Blue Ice Runway Surveys, 1995. I mean, dude, if they've been like going here since this time, like you're telling me that just nobody filmed the 24-hour sun? Like, wouldn't it just be standard, you know, like if they're going there in 87, 89, that it would be like this discovery of this new, well, it's not a new, totally new to humanity. I mean, we've been there before, but I'm saying to the level to where we have like airplanes and equipment to easily get down there. Whereas conceivably we didn't have that in the 1920s as much or whatever. So it just, not to totally take it back to that whole topic, I'm just saying it's so wild. I mean, here's all these dudes in front of an airplane, 1986, climbing Mount Vincent. I mean, it just seems like why would there ever even be a question about this 24-hour sun if humanity's been going there from the 80s, you know, at least from the 80s. There should just been thorough footage of it. Why was it that there was like no footage of it until 2014, 15, then Flat Earth erupted, and all of a sudden these guys started coming out with these polished videos? It's all strange. It just still doesn't quite like match. I mean, here's this guy, 1985. He climbed the Mount Vincent summit. Like he didn't pull out a camera and be like, "Yo, check the sun out. I'm on the bottom of the globe." Like that's
Yeah, you make a good point, Gio. I was just kind of thinking to myself, like, there's people out there that do ridiculous things just to be able to say that they were the first person to do it. But nobody wants to be the first person to film a 24-hour sun in Antarctica.
I know.
Yeah, just, logic.
I mean, dude, that's one of the first things we did when we went north and saw the one in the north. Like, film it. Oh my God, it's amazing, you know? And then now they got trips that are like 24-hour sun in the north. It's still puzzling, dude. Even though, like, it seems like, yeah, I mean, it seems like the video evidence, at least that I've looked at Union Glacier, does seem to indicate there's going to be a 24-hour sun there. So, but it would have to almost be like a longer psyop, like we were saying before, where they kind of like subverted this, like either purposefully or put some fake stuff out to make controversy. I don't know. It's kind of a strange unfolding. So I didn't mean to distract back to that. I was just like looking at that. I was flipping through these pictures and just looking at these like. So that's just why I wanted to say that. Here's this guy, first tourist flight to the South Pole, January 11th, 1988. So that's this dude's claiming to be there from 88. Just no footage of the most glorious thing of the sky down there, which is like akin to like shooting stars, meteor showers, the northern lights. 24-hour sun is in that category, but it's been this elusive to all the way till 2024 to try to send flat earthers there. That's how elusive it is.
Well,
That is
last
bizarre when you say it, so.
well, last night I went on to like I just typed in like Antarctica time lapse, and there's a Australian website with Probably like 3 bases down there with like just webcam time lapse. So but yeah, like it could be like that, like they're playing the long game.
Well, Dave Weiss, I can't rule it out.
So you coming through all muffly.
Yeah, but dude, if it's a long game to that level and it was plotted out for like a whole decade, then that the outcome of that being the case, you would think like this trip is going to be some huge. Well, what I mean is that like the only like wouldn't you think that if that was the case, if it was like a 10-year long game to like plant fake videos, make it really obscure and hard to get any footage. For some reason, these guys going back in the 90s just don't, by standard, have foot. I mean, there's pictures of these guys. Nobody like checked the sun out. I mean, I know that you have to have like a mount to like track it, but I mean, you could just take pictures throughout the day and put them into a little time lapse and be like, oh, the sun in Antarctica, beautiful, 24 hours, look how gorgeous it is. You know, like there's a lot of easy ways to do it. You don't even have to have like fancy cameras. You can just take a snapshot like just set a timer for every 30 minutes and just take a shot and then put them together. Anything like that would even give. But anyways, yeah, it's just puzzling to say the least that that's not more well documented. But
It is strange, yeah. It should be like, we should go to 50 because we can do that in the north, can't we? We can just go to some random Joe Blow and who's filmed it.
Hey, Electricity, did you post your clip from last night, which was hilarious? Could you do that for me?
The new trailer
Yeah, the trailer. Yeah,
in
the TFP
cinemas
trailer.
December 22nd.
oh, but that's what
I
I was
thought it
saying.
was
That you would think that if this was like a 10-year con job, like in a way that they were trying to get everyone to think that there wasn't a 24-hour sun there, matching it with the AE map and being like one sun that circles. It's like a heliocentric, a little ball sun above an AE map, and like, oh, this has to be your map now. And then like pushing that more so in that way of it. I'm just saying, like, if it was like a 10-year at least, like kind of psyop like that, then you would think the outcome of this trip coming up in a few days is that like I'm not saying all of them there are disingenuine or anything or not genuine, but I'm just saying like that they would do you would think that the people involved in it, if Duffy was behind like kind of trying to like put the final bow on the 10-year, of there not being a sun there, if there just is, to then try to run this narrative of like, I would think if it would go that way, then they would try to do whatever filming, have whoever they want in the film, whoever agrees to or whatever, and then push the narrative the way they'd want, and then they would pump it out, and then maybe put it on like all like the mainstream news channels. Like, I'm just saying as a hypothetical, I would think the way it would fold out is then they would launch it on CNN, NBC. Flat earthers finally proven wrong in Antarctica. The seals dealed. Anyone who's a flat earther, tell them that it's just absolutely wrong. We know. You know what I mean? Like, I would think if it was really like a psyop that they planted fake videos and stuff, then it would be a huge rollout what they're about to do, and maybe even hit huge news stations and get the exact footage they want to then weave a story. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, and I don't want for that to happen. That sounds like that'd be kind of just not, yeah, it would kind of be, it's not really good for Wits and Jaren probably, and just not good in general. But I'm just saying, like, I would think that just on the hypotheticals, if it was a psyop like that, that it would be that it would go that way in terms of this event. If this event is like culminating to that, so do you
Now
agree
that I
that
hear you say
that would be the general thing if it was?
yeah, most likely, yeah. But now that you say that, why would they put all those eggs in that basket and only give it 4 days out there? Like, I realize it's hard to come by and it's a lot of money, but it's like, yeah, only four. Like making a good observation out there. Not even that great, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's average 80% cloud cover out there or something. Like, it's pretty high.
No, I hear you. I mean, it's kind of a quite an extrapolated kind of idea, but it's just like it seems like from all the footage I'm seeing at Union Glacier, it's like definitely the sun does not set; it stays up in the sky the whole time. So it's just like, yeah. Then it gets to the thing of okay, they're either faking a sun or it's a real sun, and if it's just the real sun, then why all the shenanigans has been? Why has it been kind of was it sold by certain narratives as being that? you know, if it was a 24-hour sun the whole time. But yeah.
Yeah. Huh. Maybe he's just got more money than he knows what to do with.
Well, it does seem that way. Like the more south you go, the more sun there is. So yeah, I don't know. But it's like that model you presented, Geo, where it um like it goes around like, 270, not the whole 360. But even still, like that guy had a demonstration of it going 360. So um it's all interesting.
Yeah, dude. I mean, if you look at I know I went through this earlier, and yeah, if we want to shift to another topic, we can definitely do that. But like I was showing on this, this is just Walter Bisland's thing. But like, if you just take this Walter Bisland deal, which basically shows the azimuth grid, if you just get an angle like this, and then so like this celestial sphere, as you go north, it tilts north like that, like the northern rotation. If you're at the equator, it's 50-50, like the celestial sphere evens out. Then as you go south, the celestial sphere rises like that going into the south. I'm just going to share it on the live stream as well. Yeah, so like as you move through this, it tilts like this. Yeah, that's at the equator, 50-50. That's going to the north. So it's like the celestial sphere tilts like that. So if I put this on December 16th or December 15th, it's close enough. And then, as you move it like this in the path of the sun, so like here, real quick, I'll first go to June. So this would be the 24-hour sun in the north. So that's where the sun would be like every day, like in this little personal atmospheric dome thing. You see the sun, like there it is. It rises and sets. So it's basically arcing like that. Here, hold on, let me just turn off some of these other things. Okay. So yeah, like so the sun right there is in your little personal azimuthal grid there, it's rising and setting. But as you take this, as you go further north, now if I go all the way up to here, which is obviously further north, when you rotate, now the sun's arc is rising very, you can tell like in this guy's grid, it's rising very northeast and northwest. Like look at the arc of it like that. It's kind of leveling out. And then as you keep going all the way to the north, the plane of that sun completely levels out. And now it's just doing a 24-hour sun in the north. So now it's just the arc has inverted of the celestial sphere all the way to where it does a 24-hour sun. But if you do that going south, same thing, you go all the way like this. And here, I can even put it over where Union Glacier is. So we'll go there and then go to 80 south.
Are you serious?
Kind of.
So
flip side.
let me just finish it. So basically, like here you're at the equator, and then if I set the day for December 15th, okay, so now it's the time they're going to be there, and then as you move this out, the celestial sphere right here that's kind of the equator, so it's like arcing like that. But as this goes south, like where they're at in Chile right now, it would be like this. So the arc of the sun, see over here, the sun is rising south of east, way over there, in the little personal dome thing. And then as it comes up, it rises up and then comes over. So what I'm saying is that in Chile already, the sun is already doing this arc. It's already arcing like this across the sky, the southeast and southwest. So then if you go all the way out to 80, this is the finale of all this. If you go all the way out to 80 south, just like it does in the north, it levels out. The arc of the sun now has leveled out, and then now they're getting that right to left 24-hour sun, the 13 degrees back there in the south and the 34 degrees in the north. Now, I know that one would have to kind of, because the idea of one sun that circles around an AE map, yeah, you have this other little azimuthal grid over here, which has this sun in it. But so that would take a different type of explanation, meaning it wouldn't just have to be one sun that's some physical object that's going around in AE map. There would have to be something else with the celestial sphere, the way that we view, maybe even the way the magnetic field appears to us as we move across position. I mean, ether, etc. But I'm just saying, like, it shows the celestial sphere. We already know it tilts in the north like that. It ends up being a 24-hour sun. We know it goes 50-50 at the equator and just mirroring south. And the way the sun is already arcing in the south, it makes sense if you kept going that this is what would occur. Just from the geometry of it being reflected.
Yeah, and I guess that guy demonstrates it too. It's like the dome within a dome.
Yeah. Now, how that's working, like the actual dynamics of that's a whole nother question. But yeah, you're saying Joseph Hanvey does it with the dome within a dome, or those several demonstrations that have showed this with the dome within a dome kind of reflection, internal reflection type of thing. Yeah.
But it's got me thinking, like, because the guy before says, what about if the whole firmament was spinning above us? And then, like, what about if there's different layers that are, there could be like 5, 7, 10 different layers spinning in all crazy different directions. I don't know, just a thought. Maybe it's just not the firmament spinning, there's other layers spinning, you know. What the hell is
Yeah. Just playing around with the dome height.
I guess I should try and model this up in Blender.
I know, dude. We could use some better graphics than old Walter Bislin here. Yeah, like if somebody's got some skills, because yeah, there'd be you could do some really cool like graphics
Yeah.
with this.
The only like, because I could do the firmament and a light, but then I would have to model. Oh, I guess I could just do. uh, I'll
I mean,
just do
basically,
two.
what it is, it's like a celestial sphere that tilts as you move. Because this thing right here, as I'm moving it north to south, like that is a tilting globe. It's not that we're on the outside of a globe. It's that the celestial sphere, has the rotational arcing to it as you change position on the Earth. As you actually go north or south. So that's why it brings a deeper question. Like, is the sky like a manifestation of like our electromagnetic position, like a grid position on the Earth? And the sky kind of appears to us through the lens of the celestial sphere. And is it like the whole idea of geocentrism? But what if it's like person centrism in a way? Like, yes, the Earth is the foundation, and there's like the geocentric nature of that. But what if also like we have kind of a self-centric position that everything renders to us? I'm not saying everything like the sun is all just individual to us, but that is even an idea too. But yeah, go ahead.
Gio, could I please ask you a question? If what you're saying is true, or what you're supposing is true, why are not astrophysicists and astronomers all over this, around nation to nation? Why are not they questioning this and accepting the ideas such as you're presenting?
Right, sorry, say that again. I missed half of it.
I can say it again. Gio, if what you're presenting is true, why are not both astrophysicists and astronomers, amateur and professional alike, not all over this type of an idea that you're trying to present?
There probably is. I don't know. We just
I
haven't.
think he's asking the same question himself.
Yeah, true. The majority is given a narrative on how everything works, and then a small minority probably does understand this, and like I don't know, like whoever made this software has like an understanding or something? Is he a astronomer or whatever? I don't know. But sorry.
To be quite honest, he has no response. That's why he's not defending himself.
But have you talked to every astronomer in the world? Like, come on, bro.
We all speak to one another. We all speak to one another.
Yeah, but still, I'm just saying the majority of astronomers or whatever have the globe narrative, and a small minority, which is probably difficult to find one and speak to one, but they're out there, I reckon. And same, I'd love to talk one an astronomer or whatever who knows both models and like, I would like to talk to him too. Sure.
Well, I mean, come on, let's be quite clear here. Theo proposes that there are more than one sun. Wouldn't we know that by now? Not
I
That's
am
just
kind of
not.
the thing, right?
Hold on. I am not. I am not
not
claiming that. Hold on. I'm not claiming that. Never have claimed that. So that would be a purposeful deception you just did, or a misrepresentation. I never claimed there was any more than one son ever. So I'm not sure why you got that or why you would say that. But maybe it's some kind of attack.
mirroring is your claim.
That's
No, it was just a straw manning him, man.
yeah. It's very bad faith
Mirroring.
once again.
You have claimed on multiple occasions sun mirroring.
Not
Wait,
necessarily claim. We've talked about some different ideas though.
yeah, we're just trying to figure it out, man.
And those ideas are false.
Most people in here just, think that nobody knows what the sun is. So it's like, it's an open question.
Yeah, it's more like I think it could be doing this, or I think it could be doing that. It's not like it is doing this, and you know. And like, I reckon the years to come, I think we'll get closer and closer. But at the end of the day, we can't manipulate the independent variable, which is the sun, so we can't 100% ever know really what the hell's going on. And some people struggle with that explanation, I think.
It's similar to like the whole black hole idea, like in the globe paradigm, that you'll have to be inside the singularity to see how it works and what it is. You have to be outside the box, so to speak.
Inside the computer.
Yeah.
But
Well, yeah,
yeah,
and like on that
sorry.
topic, there's sort of this. Well, just real quick, I was just going to say how there seems to be kind of a potential kind of a shift in the kind of landscape of the discussions because, uh, in terms of just in general, like putting all the pieces together, like people that have been sold the globe model have been sold a package that has already been pre-engineered in a lot of ways and then pushed with a lot of propaganda and the occultism behind it and the kind of way that they use it for mind control in occult fashion. So, in my viewpoint, but nonetheless, that's already been packaged and kind of sold to people. So then there's this kind of bolstering of that viewpoint. And from the perspective that that position is false, that it is actually not the truth, then something has been occulted. What has been occulted? The truth. The truth has been occulted by the non-truth and by the replacement of that with the non-truth. So when that's the case, folks that, in my viewpoint, have the non-truth globe perspective may want, for whatever reason, folks to get back into that. So their drive is like, get you back into this globe thing for whatever reason. And then there's this whole other group of people that actually want to discover what is the case. Because if it's been occulted, if the truth has been occulted, then we need to like unoccult it. Meaning we need to like rediscover, re-put things back together and put things in their right place. If there's no curvature, there's no curvature. If there's no motion, there's no motion. If there's 24-hour suns, there's 24-hour suns. Whatever it may be, putting that together into a larger understanding. So there's kind of these the hecklers, detractors, the ones trying to kind of do that, and then there's folks wanting to actually move forward. So that's why, yeah, like the level of like kind of straw mans, misrepresentations, and kind of this ridicule based thing where it's like, oh, you don't have an explanation that I think is as good as what this other one is, therefore, we're just going to try to tear you down. So yeah, it seems like there's kind of like I don't know if it's a split or a fracture, but it's just sort of like the agendas of those perspectives are, the one of wanting to explore, learn more, figure it out, and the other one wanting to kind of just, you know, knock you back into the globe thing or whatever. So, and that may come even more kind of in the future, just these kind of tactics that are being used related to that.
You mean flurspective?
Yeah, that's one of them. They've been rolling that one for a couple years. That's an older one. That's from a few years ago. Oldie but goodie. Or not really goodie. It's actually just word salad. It's actually word salad. Flurspective. And it's actual real life word salad. It's not even a word.
It's just crazy. It's
People
like,
always use word salad when it's not word salad, but that actually is word salad. Flurspective. It's not even a word. Sorry, go ahead.
and it's just like explaining train tracks or something like, like it's so it's like they're converging, but they're not really converging, and then they'll just say perspective to that or so. It's just like it just becomes childish. Like something we can obviously see the train tracks are converging, but oh man. I just don't know how, like, because I'm a very honest person, and I don't know, like for someone to like lie to themselves or I don't know. It's just I'm interested like this in the psychology behind that. Like,